For 50 years you tried to get me. 51 years ago I met you. Then it was another 9 months until I met you up close. But as you can see, I'm still around. You have not been able to put me into the ground. I'm telling you, brown monster soul, oh white China, you ain't got me yet, and you never will. Whatever kind of disguise you're in, from doctors to street cats on the slide, you're never ever gonna kick me in dime. From the ghetto of Washington, D.C., to the safeness of arms in Virginia, from the woods of Georgia to the swamps of New Orleans, you'll never ever get me. From the hills of Southern California to the streets of Tijuana, on up north to Seattle, cops' guns drawn will not get me. Although you try and made me die, I'm telling you it ain't gonna be true. You've got my friends and all a gun and all of the rest of the world, but I am telling you I'm not your chum. You may have killed my cousin, but you won't get me. You made me howl just the other day with the injuries you left me. I know what a fool I was to marry you all those years ago. But that was then, and this is now. When my friend on death row said, watch it so, the brown monster will come for you, unless you're careful, so watch your step. But I am not through fighting yet. I will regain what you took from me, and I promise one thing, you never will get me. All right, everybody. So this coming month is this month we're in now, April, is the 50th anniversary of when a friend of mine uh, shot opium into me. I know most people smoke it or drink it in the tea, but we were melting it or chewed. Actually, a lot of what we got, we put in little opium gumballs. In fact, I know too well about that because I took it to school and sold it and got busted for it. And that, yeah, dorm counselor, he goes, somebody's been selling opium around here. Really? And so he had a deck of cards and we were playing, he was tossing me the cards back and forth, because we played cards there at night. And he goes, now, who is it, John? Who is it? Well, I couldn't admit to it. But yeah, it was me, fool, bringing opium gumballs to school. Anyway, so Pat pushes this dope into me. It was a pins and needles rush. And it felt incredible. So for the next 4 or 6 weeks, getting Demerol, this friend of ours named Indian Joe Yummett, he would go to this guy's house who had cancer, and he would hang out with him for a while and play chess or checkers, and then the guy would sell him this Demerol. And so I was getting into, shooting and stuff and loving it. I even practiced water and stuff, getting the hang of it. Okay, then a friend of mine at the same school, he wants me to give him a half-pound of weed. I think it was $100 he gave me. So I go take his money and said, yeah, sure, I'll bring it back next Monday to school because we go home on the weekends. And I ran into my street friend who's friends with Pat when they were all there when I did this dope. Because they were trying to figure out who was going to shoot me full of dope, Nobody really wanted to shoot somebody with dope that they hadn't done before, hadn't done it before. So that they had to figure it out, and Pat volunteered. But anyway, so I saw Dennis and asked him if he knew anywhere I could get some weed. And Dennis said, well, why don't we take that money your friend gave you and we can buy some heroin with it, some junk with it, and then we'll have enough we can get high, and then we can sell the junk, and then go get his weed for him. Oh, it sounds like a wonderful, logical idea. Oh, okay. All right, so anyway, he never did get his weed. But what happened was that I got the dope with Dennis. Really sweet stuff. First time doing heroin, sweet stuff. But we go to the woods, Crystal City, that's near Washington, D.C., in the Virginia side of the river. And we meet Joe, Indian Joe, and his girlfriend in the woods. And then Dennis and I are there. And so we're getting ready to get high, and the cops come around, and they say, you better, well, anyway, we saw the cops, and I had to take off with the stuff, because we bought the stuff, I put it in an envelope at my home, and cut the envelope in half, so I left half of it at home and had this stuff with me. And the cops threatened to let their dog go, and I tossed the stuff, and then we stopped. And so there was nothing they could bust us with directly, they just gave me a hard time, told us to get out of there, and said I was away from my territory because I lived in a different county, and whatever. So for a while, we left, and then we watched them, looking in the woods with their flashlight and their dog and stuff, looking for what I knew I had tossed something. So anyway, we finally went back to my house, and then I hadn't had a chance to get high there, so we got high at my house. And it was really good stuff, like I said. But I didn't think much about it. It was too bad to lose half that dope. There surely went the guy's money. But anyway, the next morning I went back and found Joe, and we searched around where I'd done stuff, and it took a little bit at a time. But Joe found it, little envelope. Incredibly, he found it in some bushes. So if it had hit the ground, the cops probably would have found it because they were shining their light on the ground. But Joe found it, and nothing had been touched The problem was, it had my address on it. So I had taken the half envelope with my address. You split an envelope, there's the address. Incredible. My address. Had they found it, I would not have been waking up at home that morning. So anyway, incredibly they didn't find it. But that should have been a warning, hey, this could be some trouble. But we didn't sell the dope, we just did it. Poor John Garlic lost his money. I heard about it from my sister. Later on, he called up complaining that I'd used his money for heroin, and that was embarrassing enough that my sister was telling me this. I think I was gone when she got the call. But anyway, that's what happened 50 years ago. And all the overdoses and troubles, and I had a cousin that was my age that overdosed on methadone and alcohol after he'd been severely beat up by 5 street people in his mixed, racially charged neighborhood in some town in New York. And another cousin, cirrhosis, got him. All kinds of wonderful friends, all dead from this disease. And I referred to the brown monster in it. That was a guy on death row at Angola prison in Louisiana named Thomas Lee Ward, who was executed because he shot the husband of his former wife. But he was all charged up on coke and liquor, taking a bus from California to New Orleans and all messed up. So, when he's normal, he's pretty cool, I guess, but all hot and bothered in summertime and the heat in New Orleans and the heat of the night and the whiskey and the cocaine and the fact that he wanted something from these people and they weren't going to give it to him. Bam, bam, dead man. And some years later, he's executed. But before he died, he sent me. I had written to him as a pen pal because a lady named Sister Helen Prejean, you may have heard of, from Dead Man Walking. She happened to. I was in New Orleans when she was there, and she originally set me up to be on this program, or I offered to do it. I didn't find out I'd offered to do it until I got a letter from them. Or I was reminded I'd offered to do it, when I was touring in Holland, and I got mail forwarded to me, and it goes, "Your pen pal on death row is..." So anyway, I got to know Tom pretty well, letters, and went to visit him. Pretty interesting character. And anyway, he sent me this note back to Holland, and when I was living, before he said, by the time I get this, he's going to be executed, and but to be careful, because it will kill me. And sure enough, it chased me out of the country. Holland, I don't know how many times I almost died in speedballs over there in the middle of the night. I lived in a very flat, windy place, and just, God knows many times. But somehow I survived it. Other people in drug rehab, sweet girl, India, tried to override the opium blocker, overdosed instead. When somebody gave me what I thought was a speedball, I thought that he thought I could override it, but I didn't. I just wound up full of this crummy cocaine, and then at my apartment, and a buzzer buzzed, and I didn't know exactly what to do, so I opened it, and then opened the door, and I buzzed in the cops. They were going some other place, but they're looking at me like, well, who is this person all buzzing? But I'm just saying that was bad enough. But India tried to push it, and she wound up way dead. The thing is, this is a common story, a common thread. I had money sometimes shoved at me from family that they didn't want me in too much trouble, so they helped me out, or I was working, or whatever. But people in worse circumstances than me, God knows how many lives are wasted from this stuff. Now, I have one simple solution, but no one will listen to me. Legalize everything bring it all up above the table, and say all the powers that are bringing in stuff illegally, we're gonna make it so cheap, that kindergarten people can buy it if they want. But that's not to say that they will. That's to say that the focus would be on rehab. The focus would be on, okay, this is here, and if you do it, we'll help you get out of it. But at least, because technically, a 10-year-old could go ask somebody in front of a liquor store, hey, can you buy me some whiskey? And that's not very good for a 10-year-old, but it's there to buy. So, reality is, the more you push something above the ground in front of you and dealing with it straight on, in my opinion, the easier it is for a society to deal with a problem. Because what all these people are doing that are bringing in these drugs and setting it up for people to have so much trouble, they're just killing people under the ground, under the table. But if it was all brought up, and if they could cut the prices down, I mean, it's not that expensive, but if they said, if we all made it clear, like, this is the dangerous thing. But so is drinking a bottle of vodka at one time. So are cigarettes. So are vapes, probably. Everything, much of what we do is dangerous. So is operating heavy machinery, if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So, whatever, as they call it. I'm just saying that when something is above you, above ground, you can deal with it. But too much of my life, there's, people they respect junkies. I don't blame them. I don't like them either. But it's just, there's always this, mark of, like, shame with that whole thing. And had it been easier to get the help, maybe, and less complicated, I think my life would have been different. But I think millions of lives would have been different. Okay, now that's just my rant, and I hope you have a fine, fine day, everybody. No matter where you're at in this world, wherever you are, be cool, and catch y'all the next time. Alright, be careful out there.